In this section, we are going to take advantage of TypeScript and we will create models, objects and interfaces for our data that we will retrieve from the server and send to the server. So let's start with this. In our user module, we should have a folder, models, and inside we are going to create one interface that is going to be iuser.ts, and also we are going to create an object, so user.ts. This is a convention that normally we use in our team, and let's fill first the user, the interface. So what do we have here? We have export interface iuser. If you remember from the TypeScript videos, we can define an interface with exactly this syntax, and iuser will have username, email, password, country, and birthday as properties. Then we are going to create the user. I have all this already configured, so we don't have to type so much. Oh, I did a mistake. This should be in the iuser. Sorry. Remember, we are in live coding. So in the user class, we should have something like this. First, we're importing the iuser, the interface, from the same folder, models iuser. Then we are defining our class, export class user, that implements our interface. So we have to confirm all our interface, and we have a constructor that will receive the authorization data. Okay, this comes from Firebase. We will see this later on. And from this configuration, we get the email. So this will make much more sense later on when we are connecting this to Firebase. The important part is that in every application that you should do, you should create at least one model folder with the interface and the class for our objects. Let's repeat the same for music. So in music, we will have also a folder models. And which models do we have in music? We have isong.ts. Okay, this is the interface for every song. Then we have song.ts. This is a class. We have iAlbum. This is for the interface for the album that we received from Last.fm. And we have album.ts, the corresponding class. So let's fill all of them. Well, let's start with isong. That is pretty straightforward. From isong, we will define an interface isong, and it just have one property, that is the name of the song. The class itself will be something like this. We import isong from the interface file, and we export a class song that implements isong, and we have a constructor where we specify the name. It's important to remember that if we pass our variable as a constructor public, this will generate the getters and setters for this variable. So we are fulfilling the interface. We have the iAlbum interface. From here, we are importing isong. So as you can see, now we are connecting all classes and interfaces, and we export iAlbum. Okay, we can see that we have ID, name, artist, the URL. Then we have an array of image. This is optional because Last.fm sometimes doesn't return image for a specific album. We have an array of song, exactly the same, and we have a helper here for returning a specific image. So when we want to display the list of albums in our application, we will use this function to call getImage, and we specify the size of the image that we want. So we can specify that the image is large, medium, or small. This enum, it's another characteristic from TypeScript, and we can define different values. So it's going to be like get image, album image size dot large, so for getting the large image. Let's go to the implementation of the album. Okay, so I have it here predefined. Yes, so we are importing iSong, iAlbum, these are the interface, and our class album implements iAlbum. These are all the getters and setters that we have to generate. And this is what I was talking about. We will have an implementation of getImage, and from there we have to pass the size. This should match one of the values of the num. And here we are just taking advantage of getting from the array of image the find function, find the image that has the size that correspond to the parameter size. We put this in a let variable, and this is part of the API of Last.fm. The image, the URL of the image is in the property text. Okay, so this is, if we take a look on the documentation, you will see that it's like this. Later on, we will dedicate a full chapter to Last.fm, and in there we will understand how are we parsing all this. So let's continue creating models. Don't worry about this. Right now it's in red. It won't be red later on. Okay, so let's go now to our common folder, and from here we will have also a models folder, and we will need the following. We'll need a pager. This is going to be the model that holds the logic for the pagination. From pagination we have an interface, also iPager. I haven't created, so let's do this first. iPager.ts. It's easier always to start with the interface, so let's do it like this. We have interface iPager, and our pagination, this interface should have the following. The number of items per page, the star index. So if we are in the second page, the star index will be 2. Then we have the total pages, the total results that we receive from the database, and the total pages. So with all this information, our views will be smart enough to display how many pages do we have and how to go to the next one. Let's take a look on our pager. So when we create a new pager, we have to specify the items per page, the star index, total result, and the max pages that we want. Because if we are talking about albums of the entire planet, and if we put, for example, test at the name of album, probably we will have 1,000 of results, or even if we put love, we will get 1,000 of results. So we want a maximum of 10 pages. Here, this is just a calculation for getting the number of pages that we will have. If the real number of pages is greater than 10 or the maximum that we specify, remember this is a default value, we will use the real max pages. If it's bigger, then we have only 10. We will need another interface that is going to be iSearch query. And this is just the interface that we have to confirm in the search component. Okay. And finally, and the last one is the iCountry.ts and the country.ts. This is needed for the registration because we will retrieve the countries from an external API, and we have to confirm certain interface for getting the values. So our interface will look like this. The iCountry needs a property alpha to code. This is a 2-digit ISO code and the name of the country. The real implementation of this, it's going to be pretty straightforward. We import the interface, our country class implements iCountry, and we pass the values in the constructor. So these are all the models that we need in our application. In the next session of videos, we will talk about the services that we will need and how this is mixed with these models. So see you in the next video.